Hi everybody! How was the first part of tutorial 6? Do write in the comments section. Now, having covered the conjugations of two main verbs, sein and heißen, in the previous part of the tutorial, I will now show you how to use these verbs in an introduction. An introduction in German is called Vorstellung, and there are three possible ways to introduce oneself, and the two questions that we use in an introduction are wer and wie, where wer refers to who and wie means how. So the first way to ask is wer bist du? So if somebody asks me this question, I can answer as Ich bin Rabia. Alternatively, the question comes with the question wie. So wie heißt du? How are you called? To which I will answer Ich heiße Rabia. And the last way of asking, which is quite funny, but thankfully also least used in German conversation, is the question Wie ist dein Name? And Name can be Vorname, which is your first name, and also Nachname or Familienname, where these two words refer to the second or the family name. Now, isn't this funny that in German we ask, how is your name? Even though this is not at all logically right, because in English we will ask, what is your name? Now, in this question, the wie comes instead of the was in German, which means what, because Germans prefer to keep the question word as wie when they are using it for introduction with the verb sein, or when they are using wie for introduction with the verb heißen. That is why they never use was ist dein Name, but it will always be wie ist dein Name. And to this question, I will answer, mein Name ist Rabia Waqas. So moving on. Now, interestingly, most questions in German start with the W alphabet, which is why they are also called the W-Fragen, where one question is Frage and Fragen is the plural form. Now, for the time being, I will just show you two W-Fragen. just so that you don't get confused. And these are the questions that I just covered previously. Where, which means who, and be, which means how. So, for example, where is Matthias? So, if I ask somebody this question, someone could answer it for me by saying that he is Matthias. So, somebody could point to Matthias and answer, er ist Matthias. Now, let's suppose I did not understand the person who answered me. I could repeat the question and ask, wie heißt er? To which the person who told me before about Matthias could then repeat his answer and say again, er heißt Matthias. So this is how we can use where with sein as the verb and wie with heißen as the verb. But please note that we can also mean something else when we are using sein with we. So if we ask wie ist er, meaning that I'm asking about Matthias, or Matthias is klug. So this shows that when the verb sein comes with the question wie and not where, then we are actually describing that person. So we are telling an attribute of that person. So in this case, we're not asking who is Matthias, not where is Matthias, but wie is Matthias. And we are describing Matthias in some way. So we are telling one of his attributes, which is that er ist klug. So he is intelligent. Similarly, if we use we with sein and an object instead of a subject, then we are describing that object. So let's take an example of the recently famous film Enola Holmes, and I ask somebody, wie ist Enola Holmes? To which somebody could say, Enola Holmes is gut. So this time the answer is describing the object, which is the film. So remember that heißen has to be used with the question wie always, and not question like was, which means what. And sein as the verb can be used with both where and wie, but we must remember that when sein is used with where, we are asking about somebody, but when the verb sein is used with wie, then we are asking or describing about a subject or an object. And we are using adjectives to describe the subject or the object, which are klug and gut, intelligent and good. So going further, in order to discuss your origin or your place of origin with anyone, so where you're from, you will have to use a verb in German which we call as auskommen. Now, auskommen, as you can see from this table here, is not only a regular verb because of the way it has been conjugated, but it is also a separable verb. So, this brings us to the third category of German verbs after a regular verb like heißen and an irregular verb like sein. We can have a verb that is separable. And interestingly, the verb can be both regular and separable, as this example, auskommen. So, what do I mean by separable? I mean that its prefix, which is the word aus, separates from the verb when the verb is conjugated. So you will never say ich auskomme. No, that is wrong. You will say ich komme aus. And then comes the name of the country. So I can say for myself, ich komme aus Pakistan. Also, please note that there is another German verb, kommen, which means to come. And that is a regular verb too. So, not to confuse these two verbs and any other similarly written verb, Germans use prefixes like the aus here in this auskommen verb so as to distinguish the different verbs. So you can see how adding the aus has completely changed the meaning of the verb that also exists as the verb kommen. So kommen means to come, but auskommen means the country from where you originate. Going further, having looked at the verb auskommen in the previous slide, let's look at how we use it in a conversation. So to ask about someone's origin or place of origin or Herkunft, as we call it in German, we will not use the word Herkunft in the question or the answer, but we will ask about the place of origin with another W-Frage, another question that starts with a W, which is the question, woher? So you will ask somebody about the origin by asking, woher kommst du? So if somebody asks me, I will say, ich komme aus Pakistan. But please note that you will never ask, woher kommst du aus? Why? Because the question woher already means from where, and grammatically it becomes incorrect even in English when you ask, from where are you from? Because in English also we will just ask, where are you from? So do note that in these aspects, German and English language have similarities because the question or the sentence must make grammatical sense. That was all for today. Thank you. Do stay updated for part 3 of this tutorial.